So Old Doom. Old Doom is a zone I think that everyone's talked about for a long time, and we've always really wanted to get to Old Doom, and so it feels great to be able to do it not only as a zone, but we're also going to be doing 2 dungeons for Old Doom as well that you'll be able to get to from inside. And we always wondered kind of what was there to the west of Tanaris. Now we finally figured out there's no coastline, but Old Doom's there. So here's a picture of the layout for Old Doom. So kind of what, if you want to get kind of a quick overview of what it would feel like, you can imagine Egypt was a little bit of our basis. It's a desert-like zone. There's a huge river that flows down the center of it to the south, ending in a delta. Those aren't necessarily pyramids. They're temples that were created by the Titans, and they've been here for a long time. And no one was ever able to get into Old Doom because it's been hidden. There's basically a Titan machine that's put up a projection so no one could actually see Old Doom or gain access to it. But with the advent of the Cataclysm, it actually destroyed one of the Titan machines and has ended up revealing Old Doom to everyone. So you know Bran Bromspear is going to be the first one here, for sure. So another thing about Old Doom that's kind of interesting is there's been rumors going around for a long time and it's kind of spreading throughout the land of that Old Doom has always been rumored to hold a giant super secret weapon, and everyone really wants to find out what this is. The Alliance wants it, the Horde wants it, Twilight's Hammer wants it, and it's going to be your job to get over there, quest through it, and kind of figure out exactly what that means and figure out the story behind that. Give you a little hint.
Can we call it the Old Doomsday weapon?
We can.
Sweet.
We're also going to be introducing a new creature race in Old Doom, and it's called the Tolvir, and it's actually going to be a race of stone-like cat people. It's kind of the best way to describe it. You're going to see them throughout the zone. This is their homeland, and so you're going to interact with them here. Similar to what things you've seen that we've done before in other zones where we've introduced a new race and they kind of have a home zone. This will be that place here for the Tolvir.
And just to throw out, Corey, one of the ideas is that the kind of rise of Old Doom and the fact that it's even open right now is actually relative to Ulduar, right? And all the raids and dungeon component, the storyline playing out up in the north of Northrend has essentially created a sequence of events, right? That will result in some even crazier stuff far down the line for Azeroth, but Old Doom and its fabled super weapon are all kind of part of this larger Titan storyline that Alex has been developing with fervor.
So here's a couple concept pieces for Old Doom as well. So you can really see it's got that, we really wanted to get that vibe and desert culture, a desert place, but it's also got life in it also. It's not going to look the same all around. So Mount Hyjal. So Hyjal is a zone that's been in the game for a long time, and we're finally able to do what we want to do with Hyjal. I think this is the Hyjal that we wanted to give everyone for sure. So I think everyone knows where Hyjal is. So basically, Hyjal is under siege, and we've basically got to get in there and figure out what's going on. Hyjal is under siege by Ragnaros. He's basically opened a connection from the elemental plane of fire and basically sent his army through to lay siege to Hyjal and burn the world tree. That's his goal.
And just to put that in context, right, when we play Molten Core, when we essentially take out Ragnaros back in the day, like, we pretty much banished him back to the plane of fire, and he's pissed.
Yeah.
Right. So...
It was too soon.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Way too soon. So you can see on the layout here to the south of Hyjal, that's the section where we created a whole new landmass there, and that's where they've come through. You're going to quest through all that. Now, that doesn't mean that Hyjal doesn't have anything to help it out. Malfurion Stormrage is actually back. He's woken from the Emerald Dream. And the Barrow Dens below Hyjal and the armies of Cenarius are going to be here, help trying to defend the World Tree, and you're going to get to play a part in this whole storyline through the zone.
And you know what? While Ragnaros is pissed, Malfurion's pissed too. So he's going to get it on.
Oh, well, there you go. So one last thing to comment on here in Hyjal is Dark Whisper Gorge. We're actually going to make a part of Hyjal as a zone. Dark Whisper has been pretty affected pretty seriously by the Cataclysm, and it's now basically been occupied by Twilight Hammer. So it's going to be a completely new flow in that area. It won't just be great for mining anymore. So here's a couple shots of the World Tree in Hyjal. So Hyjal is an example of a zone that we're actually going to really be able to use the new terrain phasing on. Working as you quest through the zone, things are going to be burning and on fire, and part of what you're going to be doing is trying to stop that. Here's a shot of Dark Whisper. And then here's a shot of the area where Ragnaros is coming through the elemental plane. So we'll finish up with Twilight Highlands. Twilight Highlands is going to be just east of wetlands, and I think you guys know what exists there now. It's the city of Grim Batol. That's what's there now. Grim Batol, though, actually has been sheared in half. So when Deathwing came out from Deep Home, he basically went on a path of destruction across Azeroth, and you're actually going to see that, the scar that he's left across the terrain as he made his way back to Grim Batol. And when he actually lands and ends up here, and when he came down, he's actually just so powerful. He's burning molten hot. He just cuts a line, a hole, a crack, a crevice, like right through the middle of Grim Batol, the city. And that's that kind of black line there on the top left of the map. And you're going to be able to quest through that and see all that. So Twilight Hammer also ends up playing out as kind of the home base of Twilight Hammer in general. Deathwing is here. This is where he's kind of, his base of operations is here. So you're going to see a lot of occupation there. We're going to do 2 new port towns here. Twilight Highlands is actually going to connect to the sea. So we're going to be able to do 2 new port towns with boats that'll travel to different places. The Red Dragons have been pushed back. Right now, there's still a few there out in the outer edge of Grim Batol, just to the east of wetlands, but they've actually been pushed back into Twilight Highlands. So you're going to see bases there, and you'll be able to interact with them in new quest hubs. And finally, there's a new flight that's being created here, and that's the Twilight Dragon flight. And the storyline here, there's a lot to talk about, and we're definitely going to get into that in the actual zone. Here's a concept piece for Twilight. We've only got one. This one's still very work in progress, so we've got a good shot of it here, though. So now, Dungeons and Raids. There's going to be a ton of new content here. Like Tom mentioned, one thing we wanted to make sure for Cataclysm is that we were going to have more in-game content than we ever had before. But that's not to say we're not going to have just as much level up content. We're going to have a ton of dungeons. Just a few examples here. The Firelands is going to be one of our raids. You're going to be able to go actually into the elemental planes of fire, go to Sulfuron Keep, and Ragnaros is there, and he's a lot bigger, he's a lot stronger, and he's super pissed. So you're going to have to deal with that as a raid. Like I mentioned earlier, Old Doom. We're going to have 2 level up dungeons in Old Doom, the Halls of Origination and the Lost City of Tol'vir. One's an exterior city of the actual city from the Tol'vir where they originated from, and then we actually have a new Titan dungeon, the Halls of Origination. Blackrock Caverns. Now what this is basically a completely brand new level up dungeon that's located in Blackrock Spire. So there's dungeons that we really liked, and we knew that players would like to go back to these dungeons, but we didn't want to just go back and just upgrade something in the dungeon or maybe change the flow. This is an entirely new dungeon, new art, new creatures, new boss fights, everything. You'll be able to get to this from Blackrock Spire. It's basically a dungeon it's full of Twilight Hammer. There's experiments going on down there. Deathwing. We've got Grim Batol, like we mentioned. Grim Batol is going to have both a level up dungeon and it's going to have a raid. So we're going to cover both angles with Grim Batol. That's a place we really wanted to tell a lot of stories, so we figured we should do both. Skywall is also both a raid and a dungeon. And then last but not least, we are doing a couple new heroics.